Simply having a terrible Christmas time. Simply pretend there was a microphone in my hand. There wasn't. We can play pretend, can't we? Hey bitches, welcome to my channel. My name is Will and happy December. For all of you Christmas lovers, it's your time to shine. And I don't want to take that from you, but I've made it very clear on my channel that I hate Christmas and winter and basically everything involving Christmas. I don't love the idea of a random man sneaking into people's houses and leaving gifts for them under their tree. And I don't love the idea of a random man seeing you when you're sleeping and when you're awake and everything else you do in your life. Nor do I love the idea of lying to children and telling them that this man exists. It's not only that this man exists, but that he's this really cool, great, exciting man who does nice things, spent a lot of time and devotion in giving you nice things, because that's an unrealistic thing to teach children, okay? 9 out of 10 times men disappoint. Anyways, besides the point, to all of you who love Christmas, I'm glad that you love it. I just don't find the same joy in that holiday, but I do have a little bit of a holiday-related series that I wanted to post on this channel. It's not directly Christmas-related, but vaguely Christmas related because the first part of this series takes place around the holiday time. Basically, I wanted to talk about my dream horror movie concept. This is a video idea I posted about on my former channel under my dead name and this channel. It was the first video I posted on this channel. My dream horror movie concept part 1 and 2. It's called Killers with a Z, and it was a Gen Z based horror comedy movie that I created in my head with my friends and random middle-aged actresses that I love starring in it. Doesn't sound as fun when I say it out loud. Basically, it all sparked from a TikTok I posted several years ago. I was seeing this trend going around where people were putting their friends as different things. Like, my friends and I, if we were in like a comedy, my friends and I, if we were Disney princesses, like who friends would be in different scenarios. And I was like, naturally I have to determine what my friends and I would be if we were characters in a Gen Z horror comedy movie. And so I sort of described what type of characters we would be. My friends really loved it, so I played off of that and did a part 2 and did the weapons we'd use. They really liked that, so I played off of it and did a part 3, which was how we die. And they really liked that, so I played off of it once again, and I created a whole formed out horror movie concept for this stupid little TikTok that I created. And I also always wanted to give Killers a third installment, Killers 3, and so I thought it would be really fun to revitalize my series and do a 3-part detailing my dream horror movie concept. The story was a horror comedy, and it was sort of meant to be satirical, playing off of how Gen Z comments are infesting horror movies these days and how people try so hard to make them relatable. A good example of this, I find, is Babysitter. They really threw in a lot of Gen Z references which were supposed to be funny but really just kind of held the movie back. So Killers was supposed to sort of be a parody of that. It's supposed to be really Gen Z and it's supposed to be really cringy and stupid, but that's sort of the lore of it. Obviously, this isn't a full formed out movie, it's just an idea I had in my head, and this is just the general outline and the general premise of the movie, but my friends and I have always been super invested in this. My friend Prim even dressed as her character for Halloween one year, and I could have just jumped right in and done Killers 3, but I really wanted to redo the first 2 and make them better. But with that being said, let's get on to Killers. The initial Killers movie features 6 main characters portrayed by me and my friends, 8 antagonists who are called the Karens, who are dead set on destroying the protagonist after their holiday shopping endeavors didn't go as well as they'd hoped. We meet our 6 protagonists and our 8 antagonists during what would be the opening sequence at a mall right before Christmas time. It's a pretty big indoor mall decorated for the holidays. There's a huge tree. There's a line of people waiting to see Santa Claus for whatever reason. And I would kind of envision the store going scene to scene as we see our 6 protagonists interacting with the antagonists who are going to come back to fight them later. We first see a stressed out fast food worker, Charlie, a huge stickler for rules, assisting a pair of friends, Sharon and Linda. who are upset and arguing about something that Charlie is unable to do because of the rules. If you work fast food, you know that people argue over literally anything, and so they're arguing over something that Charlie is unable to do, something maybe like not being able to honor a coupon that's expired, something along those lines. Charlie's character is always meant to be stressed out and orderly, but she's also the most practical out of the bunch. She wants to solve things logically, and she won't really do anything without a plan. Then we meet the self-centered and chic Nicole, who works at a clothing shop. She argues with Eileen about a product she can't return when she catches Kathy trying to shoplift a product. The pair of them are working together to try and shoplift, and Nicole caught them. So Nicole's character is sort of meant to emanate Trina Vega meets Mean Girl vibes. She's not exactly mean, but she's definitely a bit snobby, and she's absolutely self-centered and really only cares about herself. She's very fashion forward and always wants to look nice, gets upset when her outfits are ruined by blood, and she has several outfit changes throughout the movie while everyone else is all blood-soaked because she just can't stand being covered in blood. Next, we're introduced to Lydia, who at the beginning of the movie isn't really given much except for her looks. She works at some sort of like hunting/camping store that I really just needed to add to the mall in order for my plot to continue. I also think having a store like that at a mall is very America-like, because America cares more about weapons than they do children. We see her being scolded by Dianne when things just aren't going her way and Lydia was trying to make amends. In every horror movie, there's usually that one pretty character who people assume can't do shit because she's pretty and they're toxic. Lydia would later on become one of the baddest bitches who is great at the kills, but people just assume that's not the way. Then, in probably my favorite scenario, we meet already irritated Theo, who manages a store with a similar vibe to like Spencer's meets Hot Topic. He deals with Susan and Susan's daughter Tina. Susan is complaining about the type of things in the store and doesn't understand how it can be in a family shopping center. And she's angry about her grown daughter seeing these types of things, which Theo kind of remarks and be like, well, is she gay? Has she never seen a penis before? And takes a lot of jabs at her like that, which obviously upsets Susan because, you know, the conservatives, they've been planning for their child to be in a straight relationship since they literally slithered out of the vagina. Literally immediately out of the vagina wearing ladies love me onesies if they're a boy, or daddy's gonna have to hide me from boys when they're a little girl. Susan then demands to speak to the manager, which of course is Theo. Theo isn't supposed to be an immediately liked character, and he's supposed to be kind of snarky and grumpy, but as the movie progresses, we grow to like him. And lastly, we meet Zoey and Presley, who's my character. They work at a store that's just about to open. The design of the store is very bright, and it's kind of like a Michael's that only caters to middle-aged women. It's called something like Chad's. And there's a huge array of comedic holiday decorations that they love, like giant snowmen that they can put in their yard, live, laugh, love signs, festive things like that. The store is meant to perfectly match Zoey's vibe, who's super peppy, and be the complete opposite of Presley's vibe, who is definitely more morbid. She's kind of intended to be more like Wednesday Addams or Lydia Dietz, the classic goth girl of a movie. Zoey is sort of supposed to be the comically dumb character. People tend to assume that because of her innocence, Zoey can't do anything, but Zoey just goes and proves them wrong constantly. She's supposed to be a little bit like Cat Valentine in the like bubbly, innocent aspect, but she definitely has a brain in her head and knows how to get stuff done. She's just more fun and carefree about the things that she does. So she's not completely a dumb character, she's just a bit more ditzy. And then Presley is just supposed to be indifferent to the idea about death, and she's more so killing in this movie because of the sport of it and not because she really desires survival. Zoey's very excited and Presley's not so excited about the store's grand opening. Presley is the one who cuts the ribbon opening the store with a pair of those giant ceremonial scissors. And that's when we meet one of our other Karens in the crowd, Martha. Martha becomes frustrated to discover that this specific Santa ornament that she wants isn't there, or sold out already or something, and demands to both Zoey and Presley separately that something needs to be done because she needs to bring that Santa home. Zoey is super nice to the customer, whereas Presley is obviously not. She's not as downright petty as Theo was, but states that they don't have the Santa and there's nothing she can really do to change it. So Martha's obviously disappointed, and Presley just kind of comments, darn, now you can't represent a man who spies on children. Martha is still unhappy and she throws one of the decorations on the store, breaking it, causing a huge mess. I would then imagine a transitional scene where the mall comes to a close, maybe a sped up clip of the whole mall throughout the day transitioning into nighttime when all of our workers are closing down. We see them locking up their respective stores others, and it becomes apparent that they're all at least kind of friends, and they kind of hang out in the mall in its emptiness. They all smoke or vape or whatever around the food court and just kind of chat about their day and discuss the encounters that they had with the antagonist. And Presley is actually the one who first sees the Karens standing outside the mall doors, but she doesn't really say anything or make an issue of it. Eventually she does kind of point to the Karens and kind of laughs about it, which obviously immediately makes Charlie nervous, and she immediately wants to call the cops, which Theo kind of mocks the idea and says that they're fine, they're in the mall, and nothing bad is going to happen, which obviously means shit is about to go down. However, now since some of their fun has been ruined, they decide that it's time for them to just go ahead and pack up and leave the mall since it's closed anyways, and that is when Eileen breaks down the glass door with a gun or something. She shoots it down and breaks it, and they all get in. They're loaded up with knives and guns and whatever weapons they could carry, basically. They start off towards Lydia's store to take shelter because they know the place is packed with ammunition, and Charlie gets the phone to dial 911. However, the phone call gets disconnected when Charlie narrowly avoids getting shot at, and the phone instead gets shot at and falls down to the railing below, because why would we get a simple ending of just being able to call for help and get it done with? No, we have to have a whole fighting sequence. You know what type of movie this is. They make it to Lydia's store where they each grab something for ammunition. Theo goes straight for a gun because he just wants something quick and easy. Nicole ends up choosing brass knuckles because she finds them the most inconspicuous and stylish, and they can match her outfits. Zoey chooses an axe, Presley chooses scissors, Lydia chooses a knife, and Charlie chooses a bow and arrow. I try to make each of their weapons represent them in some aspect. Like, Theo doesn't really give a fuck about many things, he just wants something that's quick and easy, and out of all their weapons I feel like a gun is the easiest because he can just stand and point it, he doesn't have to get super close. Nicole's represents her because she wanted to choose something more stylish and something that she could wear, and she definitely has to get a little more personal for the kills. Charlie chose something that requires strategy and precision, a bow and arrow, which matches her personality to a T. Zoey chose an axe, which she'll customize later, don't worry, and Presley chose scissors because it could provide really gruesome deaths, and scissors aren't going to be the most effective for killing, but as we've already stated, Presley doesn't really care if she lives or dies or not, so she's just going to choose a weapon that's fun rather than super practical. They then make their way out of Lydia's store to face the Karens, but that's when Zoey decides that she can't do anything with the axe because it's too dull and lifeless. And so she sneaks off to the craft store that she works at. Presley is really fed up by this and is like, seriously Zoey, like we're literally about to die, now is not the time to customize your fucking axe, and decides to follow Zoey to the craft store. So the two of them are camping out there. The rest of the characters go to face the antagonists. The scene cuts back and forth between the gruesome fighting that is going on and Zoey happily customizing her axe in rainbow colors and sparkles. Presley makes her annoyance very own, but she continually looks out the window and watches as her friends and the antagonists are fighting. And we get to see a cool shot of Susan dying as Presley's watching, and blood just splats all over the window, and that's when Presley kind of is like, okay Zoey, pack it up, we gotta get out there. I'm sorry, Susan didn't die, Eileen died. Eileen was taken out by Theo's gun. They finally go out and join the rest of the group, and throughout that whole thing, Theo is the one who gets the most hit. Victor was shot, stabbed, basically anything that could happen to him. He really goes to the ringer, but somehow doesn't end up dying. Kathy then comes forward for a little vengeance, but Presley comes up from behind and kills Kathy with ceremonial scissors she grabbed while she was back in the craft store. They all use their weapons and get several injuries during the fighting sequence, and eventually Theo meets his match. Not by getting shot or stabbed or in a usual way, he gets his foot caught in an escalator and is unable to get out, and then is stuck in place like a mousetrap for the Karens to come and kill him. He was wearing crocs and he could not get the croc out of the escalator, and then he couldn't get his foot out of the escalator. It was a whole disgusting mess. And Dianne was the one who came up from behind and finally ended him. Presley even kind of mocks the situation and says you should never wear crocs on an escalator. And for the record, I love crocs, but you shouldn't wear them on an escalator. However, Dianne is then shot by Charlie's bow and arrow for revenge. Then there are two more indoor kills. Presley goes head to head with Linda and gets a good slash with her ceremonial scissors, but they're kind of close to the railing, and so Linda kind of stumbles after being hit by Presley's ceremonial scissors and kind of pulls Presley down for her death too, so it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. Remaining survivors then decide to take their fight out into the parking lot and obviously want to escape. So still remaining we have Zoey, Lydia, Charlie and Nicole for protagonists, and Martha, Susan, Tina, Dianne, and Sharon for antagonists. The protagonists decide that they obviously want to try and get to their cars, and Charlie parked the closest because that's who she is, and so they decide that they want to try and make a beeline for Charlie's car. And obviously they can't get there, and another fight breaks out in the parking lot. Susan ends up grabbing Zoey and tries to take her out, mocking her for her axe, saying, "Is that like a JoJo Siwa murder weapon? Did you get that from the JoJo Siwa collection?" It basically implies you can't kill someone with an axe that looks like that. However, Zoey then turns around and slashes Susan's head open and says, "Sometimes you gotta keep an open mind about things." Zoey then continues to head to the car but gets killed by a shopping cart that is pushed by Martha that she couldn't steer clear of. Lydia goes for Martha then but misses and kills Tina, who then is killed herself by Sharon, who is then in turn killed by Nicole. So it's like a whole sequence of death after death after death. So we're now down to Charlie and Nicole, Martha, and Dianne. Charlie and Nicole get into Charlie's car while Martha and Dianne get into a Subaru, because we all know vengeance is what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Martha is driving and she's a very angry driver and tries to get Charlie and Nicole off the road but is unsuccessful because Charlie is very practical, as we've said many times, so she's prepared for what to do if someone's following her while she's driving, and she takes a bunch of turns and eventually confuses and loses Martha and Dianne. And they safely make their way back to Charlie's house, where she lives with her mom. The two run inside to Charlie's very concerned mother, Marissa. Marissa sees the two very injured and asks them about it, but she asks them about it a little too nonchalantly. You know, they walk in and instead of being like, "Oh my god," she's kind of like, "Oh my god, what happened?" Which Charlie then realizes that it's very strange behavior for her mother, and even points out that her mother didn't seem very surprised to see them all beat up and injured like that. And eventually she says, "Mom, we were almost killed." That's when Marissa switches things up and says, "Yes, I thought I could trust them to get the job done." Charlie is obviously shocked, and Marissa just says, "It's nothing personal, dear." Because we all know attempting to have you and your friends killed isn't personal. And she gives kind of her dramatic Karen backstory as to why her friends were targeting the mall employees. And she somehow has a direct connection to every single one of the Karens who was at the protagonist's stores. They were all supposed to have like a big secret Santa party or something, and all of their plans were jeopardized by the protagonists, and somehow Marissa was involved in the huge plot for revenge. We get to see that story play out as Marissa describes it, and eventually then Dianne and Martha are invited in, where they can hopefully finish the job this time because they didn't do a very good job the first time.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Another battle sequence takes place, and they make way outside after Marissa exclaims that she doesn't want her beautiful Christmas decorations to get ruined. They move outside, where Marissa had a large in-ground swimming pool, and they live somewhere where it's not super cold, so I mean the pool can still be there and it can still be filled with water. Martha pushes Charlie inside the large in-ground swimming pool, and we see Charlie kind of just floating there, and Marissa obviously gets mad because that's her daughter, and so she kills Martha by good old-fashioned stabbing. There's a bit more fighting as Nicole kills Dianne. Marissa's kind of staring in the water, kind of distraught by the fact that her daughter literally just got murdered in front of her, because, you know, that upsets some people. She kind of relents and says that she didn't mean for it to go like this. Nicole thinks it's all over. The screen then kind of pans over to like a top view, and we see Charlie floating lifelessly in the pool, and Martha's body and Dianne's body around the pool, Marissa crying, and we see Nicole kind of take a deep breath that it's all over. She smiles out of relief, and she starts to sort of walk away from the house, but it wasn't over, because all of a sudden Marissa sneaks up behind her, stabs her in the back. The last scene is Nicole going, "Fuck," as the screen fades to black, and that concludes the first Killers movie. I really love this plot that I created, and I thought the idea of it being in a mall was super funny, and I thought that we could get a lot of cool kills, and I love all the jokes that we can find within it, like the Chad's craft store and little things like that. That is all for the first Killers. Stay tuned for Killers the sequel, because Marissa will be back, as well as a whole new set of antagonists and protagonists to save the day. Not really save the day, I guess they didn't save anything because they died. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.